Aya, I'm not go TV stream. It's free.
Welcome back. This is Hope Adon right here at Hope TV, where you look and you live. And we promised you that once we are back, we'll be having a guest join us on set. And today being a Monday, financial fitness, that is the conversation we'll be having. And today we are looking at savings and investments. We are trying to understand the two. And we were discussing and we were saying, you know, it's now this season that also as we are making merry, but also there are those of us who are also preparing for next year with the New Year resolution. So as you are making those plans for next year, we want you to have that information. We want you to have that knowledge so that you make a decision based on the information and the knowledge that you are going to acquire between now and the new year. And so today it's all about savings and investments. And we'll be having John Kamau. We have John Kamau, who is a financial expert, join us in studio to help us with this conversation. Remember, you can be part of the conversation as well. Get us across all our social media platforms, Hope TV Kenya, and also you can drop us a comment on our WhatsApp platform 0708 222 323. And of course, we will be getting those queries, questions, and any clarity that you could be having. So keep busy, keep talking to us as well. And of course, we appreciate your feedback as well. Right about now, allow us to welcome our guests. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and how are you?
Fine, thank you. It's good to have you.
It's good to have you, and to see that we are still busy even with the festivities.
By the way,
a conversation in time, because
yes,
this is the time when people are planning on how to do sherehe, planning for next year.
Yeah.
So I am glad to be
You
here.
can say that again because people are now saying, hatutaki kusikia mambo ingine. Saizi ni sherehe, saizi ni festivities.
Lazima tupige sherehe in the context of what is coming.
Oh,
Yes.
very important.
January is in the next 3 weeks.
Yes, yes.
So if we don't put that into context, you definitely will come here back in 3 weeks and wondering what's happening.
Yes, yes.
What is that I did 3 weeks ago?
Yes.
So it's good that we have that discussion today and right now.
Yes.
So that even as we do the New Year planning,
Yes.
we're also doing that with information that will help us to make informed decisions.
All right.
Amazing.
Awesome. That is very amazing. Before we get into conversation, it's always important, it's always good for people to get to know who do we have in studio. So just a brief introduction of who you are.
Thank you.
Yes.
My name is John Kamau. I am the head of growth and customer excellence at Avocap Asset Managers. So my background is in financial analysis and helping people to understand their behaviors and how that relates to money. Because behind every expense, behind every decision to buy, there is a behavioral influence. So we look at what are these influences, what are the opportunities for people to invest in the market out there. So basically, we move around behavior and money. Yes, that's what
behavior and money.
Yes,
very interesting.
Amazing, beautiful.
Yeah.
And today's conversation is, of course, touching on savings and investments.
Yes.
I believe these are big words.
Sure.
in
True.
themselves.
Yeah.
Yes, and they do mean quite a lot, basically, and one has to go with the other as well. So maybe talk to us about how do we define savings, how do we define investments, and how important are both of them?
Thank you. So as you've rightly put it, sometimes we confuse savings with investments, or the other way around. We sometimes are saving when we think we are investing, or we are investing when we think we are saving. Okay. So it's good to first of all put those two into perspective.
Yeah.
Saving is basically putting aside money and mostly for short-term use. It's what we call kutenga. Ukisikia mtu anatenga, bas we are
very famous.
Very famous.
Kenya.
Yes.
Kutenga.
Unatenga. So that is, putting aside money, and mostly for a short term.
Okay.
When we are talking about investment, we are talking about putting your income or your money in vehicles with the view of growing the money or the wealth. And there are 4 areas, broad areas that helps us to distinguish between savings and investment.
Yes.
The first one is the purpose. So when you're saving, you are basically putting aside money for a short term, mostly for something that is in the next near future. You are looking at probably an emergency need or something. Right now we are in the Christmas mood, so if I was to save, and this is the week for salaries for most organizations. So watu watatenga pesa ya kwenda Christmas, ya January, ya school fees. So basically the purpose is, you are doing it for a short term.
Yes.
When we are talking about investment, the purpose is different. You are putting money there so that it can grow. And you are looking at vehicles that will help accelerate that growth. It could be for a project or whatever it is.
Yes.
But the major thing is the purpose is different.
Okay.
The second major differentiator is in liquidity. When you are saving, you are putting money in vehicles that you can easily access the money. You talk about your savings accounts, talk about M-Shwari, talk about even cash money. You are setting it aside, but you can easily access it. When we are investing, we are putting money in vehicles that maybe we may not easily access them, because again, the purpose is you are setting aside for a longer term use. The third differentiator is in returns. When you are saving, you're mostly not looking at very high returns or even no returns at all, because again, the purpose is quite different. But when you are investing, you must look at what is this vehicle that will help me or give me commensurate returns. And finally, it's the timeline. For savings, we are looking at the short term, the next near future. For investment, you're looking at the midterm or the long term. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, because you have mentioned the same and differentiating the two, let's talk about, because I have had people, they want to invest. So what they do is they save. So how do we tie the two? So that, as you said, because it's a short term for the savings and all, but then how do we marry the two so that I don't have this amount of money, but in due time I want to save so that I can be able to invest? How important is it, and how do we go about it?
So the first thing is to look at goals.
Right.
Because if you are saving or you are investing without having looked at why is the reason? The why.
The why.
The why.
The why for saving.
Exactly. You start with the why. Regardless of your financial status right now, you cannot start saving or investing without having considered the why, because 2 things will happen. You will start strong, but in the middle of the journey, you find there are challenges that are come, and because the why was not compelling enough, you will drop off.
Yes.
And number 2, you will not have that staying power, the urge to continue even when the going gets hard.
Yeah.
So the first thing to consider is, how do my goals look like? And when you're talking about goals, we look at the short-term goals, the mid-term goals, and the long-term goals. Because sometimes when you do an analysis of your goals, you realize that sometimes, depending on your current financial status, you can postpone some of the things that you'd like to do.
Yes.
So as much as I want to save kidogo or a lot so that I can be able to invest, you look at that context, the goals that I have on one side, and number 2, what your incomes look like. There are people who are in business, they don't get consistent income. It comes depending on, the business that one is in.
Yes, yes.
And the other person is someone who is salaried. So you look at my current financial status, my current income levels. Depending now with the goals that I have, what is it that I'm supposed to do to ensure that I am able to fund those goals?
Yeah.
And now from there, now you can do an assessment and figure out how to proceed with the journey from savings going to investments.
Yeah, and I think we are also living in a society where everyone is giving you ideas of where to invest. Put your money here. This is the returns that you're probably going to get. So maybe for someone who has never invested before, what are some of the things that they need to put in place and even in mind before investing or taking that step?
Thank you. I think the first thing is to consider seeking a professional opinion. And the reason I say this is because, if you are unwell, you don't consider the opinion of someone who probably is not a medical doctor.
That's true.
If you have a vehicle and it has mechanical issues, you definitely take it to the professional.
Yeah.
When it comes to savings and investment, sometimes most of the time, we take advice from friends. And someone will give you the experience. Maybe they lost. Maybe they even, we have different money personalities. There's a personality called the savers. And savers don't save for a good reason. They just save for saving's sake. So if you get that an opinion from that kind of a person, they definitely will discourage you from investing.
Yeah.
And someone will always give you their own opinion. So the first thing is look for a professional advice. Someone who can genuinely tell you what are the opportunities in the market. Someone who will not be biased. Someone who will help you to curate your savings and investment journey based on a number of things, your income levels, your risk appetite, and things like those ones. So that would be the first thing. The second thing is to look at, you start from where you are. For someone who has never invested or saved, they think that you need to get to a certain level of income for you to start the journey. Where you are is the best place to be. There is no perfect time to start saving. There is no perfect time to start investing. We are in Christmas, and there are people who will be eating bonuses. There are people who will be eating interest.
Yeah.
There are people who will be eating coupons. Dividends zako ndio zinaingia saa hii. Na kuna mtu mwingine anataka kushindana na mtu mwenye anakula savings, anakula interest, anakula dividends. So you can look at it as one person is eating the seed, what they should have planted. The other person is eating the fruits of what they have been. So as much as you may not have done that, this is a good place. We are in 2020. We are getting 2025.
Yes.
It's time to reset. So if you have never done that, start right where you are. And the other thing I normally, from a professional perspective, is start with the very basics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Start with the very basics. We have money market funds, which are very, very easy. Some people are in chamars. You can do lock savings. I mean, something that is not very complicated. You start from the known to the unknown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that is for a beginner.
That is for a beginner.
Yeah.
That's for someone who is starting.
Yeah.
Of course, for someone who has been there, there are things we talk about, portfolio balancing. We talk about what else do you need to bring in the investment basket.
Yeah.
Maybe you have done immovable assets,
Yeah.
illiquid assets. Is it time to consider other forms of investment?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I like it when you talk about the professional advice, because a majority of us, we usually, first of all, because I have money and I feel it's time for me now to start investing, two things will happen. One, I will just look around what is really peaking, the business that is currently thriving.
Exactly.
So that's one. Then number two, as you said, I talk to my friends. So naambia, nataka tu kuinvest, lakini siko clear.
Yes, and then now they give you the advice based on their experience. So that's why it is good to consider.
Professional advice.
Yes.
Let's talk about aligning savings and investment strategies with the long-term or short-term financial goals. How do we align the two? Because I believe they go hand in hand.
True.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you have talked about aligning them with the goals. Because the first thing is do you have the goals? That is always the first place.
Yeah.
If you go around asking people, are you doing any form of investment? They will tell you, yes. I have a side hustle. I bought a piece of land. I have a savings account or something. Then you ask them the most fundamental question: why? Why are you doing this? Why did you buy that? And what is the time horizon within which you want to achieve that goal? They probably don't. They are just investing or saving for the sake. So the first thing is to ask yourself, what are my short-term goals? And that is something that is between now and in the next 12 months. What do I want to accomplish in the next 12 months?
Yeah.
For some of us who are taking children back to school in January, that's a short-term goal. For someone who is not married and probably they don't have children they're taking, that's a long-term goal. So your short-term goal could be my long-term. And my long-term goal could be a short-term. So you look at, in the next 12 months, what do I want to accomplish? In the next between 1 to 3 years, that's a mid-term goal. What is it that I want to do? And maybe beyond 3 years, what is my long-term goal? It could be retirement, it could be building, it could be whatever it is.
Yeah.
So the first thing is, what are my goals? Number two, you need to do a health check. What is your financial health? How does it look like? Sometimes you are overloaded with debts. Sometimes it could be your priority is, you need to look at your income levels versus your expenses.
Yeah.
Do an audit of your expenses and figure out, I have goals. If I continue with the current trend of spending and the way my finances look like, am I likely to achieve those goals?
Yeah.
So you do an analysis. What are your savings ratio, for example? Are you able to save consistently? What are your debt levels? How do they look like, for example? Are you doing retirement planning? I mean, you look at your health, your financial health, and you may realize sometimes one of the things that you need to do is not actually to have extra income.
No.
It's actually to reduce your expenses right now.
Yeah.
You are living beyond your means. You are punching beyond, your weight.
Yeah.
So probably it could be that realization of, my goodness, I have been spending a lot on entertainment. I've been spending a lot on, I live in a house that I cannot even afford.
Yeah.
I take my children to school that if I took them to an equivalent but lower fees or something, I could be able to fund some of the goals that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So once you do that, then of course now you do what we call matching your goals vis-a-vis the income levels. Like if you are shaving part of your income to go to investments and saving, then you look at what goes to the short term, what goes to the mid term, and what goes to the long term. So you begin by having goals, look at the current income and expenses status, and then now do the matching. Yes.
All right. And maybe now we can look at the risks involved, because it's always important to also talk about that and also touch on it. So what are some of the risks that are maybe involved both in savings and the investments, and how can one caution themselves against that?
All right. So when you're saving, and as we mentioned, you mostly are looking at platforms that money is easily accessible. So one of the risks is you risk eating the money because when you're saving, because the money is there.
Yeah.
We all have different money personalities.
True.
And in another session, probably we'll come and discuss this. But if probably you are like me, because me, I'm a spender. And you have
really?
Yes. My money personality is that I'm a spender.
Yeah.
Naturally and instinctively. We are the kind of people who spend emotively. Yeah, when you are happy or when you are sad. It almost becomes like your therapy.
Yeah.
And so if I have money where I can easily access it, what do you think will happen to me when I run into that emotional beat and I feel like I need to spend? So the first thing is for savings, and especially when you put money where you can easily access it, you run the risk of kutenga, lakini utumie your pesa for a different use. The other thing is you need to understand that if as much as you're saving, you need to choose a vehicle that will help you be able to put or get the money when you need it. For example, you cannot save money for a short-term use and then you are buying land with it. Because when it comes to liquidating, it could give you challenges of liquidating the money. When you're talking about investment, the thrill is always looking at what platform is giving me the highest return.
That's
so
true.
You risk not fireproofing the opportunity. You are led by risks. You didn't look at the genuineness of the opportunity, and you might end up losing the money. So that is number one. And number two is probably, again, not matching the platform. Because the first thing, you have a goal. And the second thing, you now have set a budget. I'm going to set this amount of money or this percentage every month. And the third thing is to look at what are the platforms.
Right.
So if you don't choose the right platform, then definitely you are not going to get the results that you're looking at. And of course, there are other risks that come, market risks. Sometimes the rates are going down. This year, we have had a good year when it comes to capital markets, especially the beginning of the year. We had money market funds were doing so well, but now they are on a downward spiral. Yeah, we are heading to a single digit when it comes to treasury bills. Probably maybe by early next year. So there are those market risks.
Yeah.
There are changes in the market that would affect your goals and how you would achieve them. So those are some of the risks that would happen. Of course, the biggest risk is not saving and not investing.
Yeah.
That's the biggest risk.
Yeah, those are the biggest risks. There's something that you had mentioned earlier, and I want us to camp a little bit there in terms of someone who is new, fresh,
Yes.
when it comes to saving, when it comes to investments. And maybe if, as an expert, you could give them a practical journey of how to begin this journey, because one, they are afraid. Two, they are very new to this thing. Three, there are so many noises around them. Four, there are people, loved ones telling them, well, leta hii pesa kwanza tutumie, because you're still young and all those things. So how do a practical way of venturing into either savings or investment?
You reminded me of a famous quote or saying I normally see on social, says that if your money cannot buy you a car or build you a house, eat it. Eat that money, that money.
Yeah.
And that's a wrong advice. Maybe someone who is telling you that they are spending their interest or bonus, and they are telling you to eat the seed.
The seed.
So the first thing is to understand that you can start right from where you are.
Right.
The journey of saving and the journey of investment is not very complicated. Sometimes when we talk about savings and investments, one, it sounds like it's for a certain class of people.
True.
It's not for me.
No.
It's not for me who is earning a certain amount. Let me say this. At whatever level where you are, there is no saving and investment is not for an exclusive club of people. It is for everybody, because we all have goals.
True.
And your
That's true.
goals and mine are different.
True.
Yeah.
We all have things that we want to achieve. So the first thing is to understand that this is not a reserve for the few.
No.
This is something that you need to inculcate, because if you don't plan, failure to plan is planning to fail. So if there is nothing that will come and the universe will poop and you have everything figured out. No, it is incumbent in you. The Bible says it is in the place of man to plan. In fact, this is how it puts it. Man belongs plans, but from the Lord comes the reply of the tongue. So that means that if you're not planning, you're not doing your God-given responsibility. So start right where you are. Number two, start with the tools and the tools that are available to you.
Yeah.
Everyone can access some simple tools like Mshwari. You can access a simple thing like a savings account. It doesn't have to be the complexities of what we are talking about. And by the way, when we are talking about investing in money market funds, investing in bonds, in treasury bills, in quite a number of capital markets products, again, the journey has been so much simplified. For instance, where we are at Avocap, the whole thing is digital. It's a self-onboarding process. So don't think about it like it's a very, very complex thing. So understand that it is not a reserve for the few.
Yes.
Use the tools that are available for you. And number three, be intentional. Be intentional about putting aside money for whatever reason. We normally say from a professional point of view that you need to be saving at least around 15 to 20% of your income. So you figure out what are your expenses, then do the income. Save part of that income. What happens with most people? We normally spend and save and invest what remains. It should be the other way around. You should be budgeting for saving and investment. The same way we budget for expenses. So you have a goal, you align it with your income levels, and then you go to becoming intentional about setting aside. So it's that simple. I don't want to complicate it and make it sound like it's so complicated. And then now when you start that journey, you know what happens? It gives you the muscles. You saved for 3 months. You started seeing your account grow. You invested somewhere. You started seeing the returns. You develop the muscles. Now over time, you can now look for John, who is an expert. And ask, by the way, I started my journey. Now, how can you help me get visibility of the other opportunities in the market?
Amazing.
I love it when you say you use the materials that are
available. Yes.
Yeah.
At your level.
At your level.
Because what you, and I like it as well, is demystifying the notion that savings and investments is an exclusive club.
Sure.
That the only time you can save is if you are one, salaried, number two, you earn a particular amount of money.
Sure.
Yes.
So kwa sababu pesa yake inapitia kwa bank, it's very easy for them to invest, to save and all. But I have had stories of people who are huko chini kidogo, and they use the tools that are available to them.
Yes.
And they have grown their portfolio to levels that you cannot even imagine.
Cannot even imagine.
It's
because
true.
it's not in the amount. It is in the discipline and in the resolve.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's
It is
not the
in
amount.
Yes, it's not in the amount.
Because there are people who are earning huge figures.
Yes.
But if you look at what they are doing in terms of the investments, in terms of their savings,
Still.
it's one thing.
This is what happens. When you are at a certain level, you earn a certain income, or you have certain income that is coming to you. There is a certain standard that you maintain. When the income increases, you don't, most people shift the standard of living.
True.
You move houses, you move your children to a new school, you change your car. So what happens is that your disposable income diminishes as you climb up the ladder.
Oh my.
Because according to you, it's the standard. It's people who work at Hope FM as presenters. They need to live in a
particular way.
A particular way.
Yes.
You know, they need to eat in certain places.
Yes.
So that compromises your ability to save and invest. So it's not about the amount. It is in the resolve. That's why you find two people in the same organization earning a similar salary. One has done so much and the other one is always ukona 2K urgently from the other guy. And they're earning the same. It is in the discipline and in the resolute. Yes, not in the amount.
Amazing. Those are some very heavy nuggets
by the way they are.
Of wisdom. And I think maybe we can just take a short break, even as we allow our viewers to send in their questions. If you have any questions regarding this conversation that we are having, our WhatsApp number is 0708222323. We are having such a profound conversation on savings and investments. And I hope you are taking in the notes. We'll see you in a bit.
Hope TV is where you look and live, with an excellent selection of the best Christian programming consisting of local and international content, of inspirational stories, talk shows, Bible commentary, youth, health shows, children entertainment, contemporary gospel music, extended times of worship, live broadcast, news, movies, drama, Christian ministry programs, and so much more. Hope TV is another quality service from Christ is the Answer Ministries, with over 45% of authentic and credible local content every week. Hope TV is a sister station to Hope FM, Kenya's leading Christian radio station, with footprints across the country. Tune in to Hope TV, where you look and live.
Amazing. We are back, and of course we are having such an amazing conversation with John Kamau, who is a financial expert. And you know, I was just smiling when you said you're actually a spender. I was like, a spender, but you're a financial expert. Calls for a lot of discipline there.
You know, sometimes what happens once you understand your personality, you understand your money personality, it helps you to now know, I think I am like this, so I need to put these measures to protect myself.
Instead of being in denial.
You cannot deny your personality. It will show.
Yeah, by the way, it will shout.
You had better come to peace with it. But even with that, I would love for us to now get down to some examples, because kwa ground vitu kuna vile zinakuanga. So maybe you, having worked in this field, maybe please mention to us some of the examples of people that you have seen, you know, take that leap of faith, a step of faith, I would say, you know, to discipline themselves. And what kind of results have you seen from that?
I like giving this example of our rider in the office. So this is a gentleman who used to see us post on our status about money market fund, about bond funds that we do, about investment in equities. But he's our rider actually. So we used to send him, deliver this. So one day he came and asked me, what is this that you normally post? Don't I qualify to? I mean, I see about savings and investments. So he sat down, looked at his business. So he has 2 motorbikes in town. And he told me his goal. And his goal, he told me he wants to go to professional courier services and expand the business in a year's time. So we looked at his financial income versus expenses. So we agreed, you can cut down here, you can do this and this, so that you can have more disposable income, so that you can be able to save.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, within a record, about 6 or 7 months now, he has developed such a discipline to save.
Yeah.
He is on course to get to the goal that we are talking about, and even earlier, because once we realized his potential, we moved him to a fund that would accelerate his growth.
Wow.
This is our rider in town, and I'm very sure maybe he is watching, because I shared with him and told him I'm coming here. So this is someone who, put a practical step towards doing that. I also had another gentleman who is, in his middle income earning, but debts were taking a toll on him, because he was taking loans to do consumption. So loans to buy a car, loans to buy this loan, and we're not talking loans are not bad. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But you need to understand what is your carrying capacity.
Yeah.
What load would break you, and where is this money going?
Yeah.
So we sat down with him, said, "Yo, bro, where you are going with this? You're living a flashy life, and we appreciate that. But sooner or later, it will break you down." So long and the short of it is, one, he had to sell some of the things that he had bought.
Yeah.
Because he realized they were not as important. They were not adding so much value. So that now he could be at a cash position that he can spare some money and do some of those things. Because the danger was, you are bringing a long-term goal now.
Yeah.
That means you are straining your flows right now. And that means that there are many things you are compromising.
Yeah.
So I like sharing those examples just to tell you that it doesn't matter your position right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you are laden with debts. You feel like there is nothing that is moving. There is always something that can be done as at where you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
You had mentioned earlier about the market rates fluctuating and all. How then, as an investor, should I protect myself? What should I do to shield myself from such, in terms of not losing money during that season, during that period?
Thank you very much. The bit about investing is that investments are not static. You cannot make one investment and say, hooray, now I have done once in a lifetime investment, we are good to go. Because market conditions keep changing.
Yeah.
This year has been a very, very good year for stocks, investors in the stock market.
Okay.
The major indices in the stock market in the country, like the Nairobi Stock Exchange All Share Index, which is normally what we used to look at, how one of the indices we used to look at how the performance has been. It has been up 25%. Wow. So meaning people who invested in the stocks, this market this year has favored them.
Yeah.
Now last year was a very bad year for stocks, and previous years.
Yeah.
Actually, the last 7 years have not been very, very good for investors in the stock market in our country. But the tides are changing. So if you made an investment, then lost, and then you gave up, then you are not going to take advantage of what is happening right now. So the first thing is and that's why I talked about a professional, because you are a doctor, you are a farmer, you are a teacher. You don't have time to probably figure out what is happening in the economy.
No.
But me, that is my job. I wake up every day looking at what are the markets, how are the markets. I'm able to advise you and tell you, George, the money market is going down. Can we increase one more item in the basket called bond fund? Can we look at equities? Can we diversify? Because again, sometimes the market locally may not be doing well.
Yeah.
But the market in the African market, because again, we can also help you invest in the stock market in Africa, and in the global space.
Yeah.
So we may not be doing well in one market,
yes,
but then we can be able to advise you. So that is number one. Number two is creating a portfolio, especially for people who have invested before.
Yeah.
Right.
And the reason why we talk about portfolio is the same reason as I said. One, to avoid over concentrating your investments, because sometimes you might have bought land, and that's all your investment portfolio. That's how it looks like.
Yeah.
So you find these people are asset rich, but they are cash poor. Someone has a lot of assets, but when it comes to liquidity, when there is an emergency, medical need, that person can even go hungry, because how long will it take you to probably sell a plot or something? So you need to create a balanced portfolio where you have liquid assets, you have assets that you have invested in assets that can be able to, you can access these funds. So in terms of looking at the rates, I always advise, get someone who can be able to help you, share with you information. Because if I tell you to keep on looking at, sometimes those things are quite complicated. They look a bit technical.
To us laymen.
It might be technical. But if I come to you and tell you, hey, look, money market funds are going down. Can we diversify and go to bonds? Can we diversify and go to equities, to the shares market? There is a new dispensation of leadership in America, which will come with a lot of sentiments. Can we diversify and invest in the stocks in the global space? Because that is my position. So that is a good way of helping you be able to know where to go when there are different changes in the market.
Awesome.
I feel like this is a perspective that I probably have not had, even in most interviews, just knowing the market trends and what is happening. Because many of the times we would just make an impulse decision and say, this is my year to invest, and you put all your money in one area, but hiyo ndio mwaka yenye.
Exactly, that's where now the markets went. So actually you have touched on something that I would like to say. This is a time for setting New Year resolutions. And let me tell you, when someone doesn't have money, they are very sober. They preach sermons to themselves. When I get money, I will do this. I will be disciplined. I will do this and this. When money comes, money and sense cannot stay in the same. One has to go. Yes, one has to go. So you find that when there's a need, or when someone is in a situation, they're always having these resolutions, like we have right now, and people are looking at, what do I need to do? I need to change. I need to invest. I need to buy this. I was not able to do this year. I'll need to buy. So there are a lot of those things. I think the best resolution for someone right now is to do an analysis of their relationship with money, behavior, and number two, their financial health. Before you even tell us what you're going to buy, before you even tell us where you're going, what you're going to do, can you do an assessment of your relationship with money? Because most people have head knowledge. It is good to budget. It is good to save. In fact, I know it is a good thing. That's head knowledge. Head knowledge plays only 20% of your financial decisions. 80% is behavior. So if you don't treat the behavior, which is 80%, you will still be in the cycle. So your 2025 resolutions will be to finish your 2024 resolutions, which are 2023 resolutions, and the cycle continues. So the first thing to do for any person who is looking to do something meaningful in terms of saving and investment in 2025, do a behavior check. What is your relationship with money? Then do an assessment of financial health. And then from there, you can now figure out. Some of us, the only thing that we may need to do is to change friends. Because all. Because you are in a circle of friends who keep pressuring you to do things that are way above your grade. Some of us, the only thing that we need to do is probably move houses. I live in a 3-bedroom house just for status. Why? When I can do something with that. So you see, some of those things, when you change them, then definitely they change a lot of things when it comes to savings and investments.
That's powerful.
A lot of wisdom being oozed this morning. We are almost coming to the tail end of our conversation. Time is not on our side. If you would mention something to do with emergency fund, because also it falls under the savings category. So emergency fund, what it is and how to go about it.
Thank you. So emergency fund is part of what we look at when we are looking at my financial health. In my plan, do I have an emergency fund? Now, a typical emergency fund is money that you have set aside
Yeah.
that can take care of your 6 months of your current living standard.
So if anything happens to me,
If anything happened,
the next 6 months,
Yes.
I'm able to sustain my
the
current
lifestyle. Exactly. You can pay bills, you can do whatever you are doing
Yeah.
as you look. Because the transition from one job to the other,
Yeah.
or the transition from business, or whatever it is that affects income, is very sometimes dramatic.
Yeah.
It happens. Someone lost a job, someone, something happened. I mean, COVID taught us a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot.
So, have you put aside a reserve that can be able to take up care of you and your family?
Yeah.
For those who have families, maintaining the current standards for 6 months. If you do that, then you have peace of mind knowing that by the time 6 months are over,
Yeah.
by the time I'm exhausting my reserves,
Yeah.
I'll have, been able to sustain.
Yeah.
Most of us, we live from hand to mouth.
True.
We are always budgeted. In fact, mshahara ijaingia imeshaisha. Why? Because the expenses are more than the salary that is
Yeah,
coming.
yeah.
It would be okay if you have set aside money is going to investment, and like when you are consuming everything.
Yeah.
So you need to put a plan to do an emergency, and things happen.
Yeah.
I mean, every day. I know we have a God in heaven, but things happen on
Yes,
us.
they do.
There is a sickness. Shosho yako amemeza jembe. Something has happened at home, and you are the one who is being called.
Yeah.
And it messes up with their finances that
True.
month. So we need to put that plan. It may not be immediately. I mean, you cannot just, if you're not able to, you can't just put an emergency fund on one day.
Yeah.
But you can build it gradually.
Yeah.
Figure out my monthly expenses is 50,000. I need to put aside 300,000 somewhere, just in case something happens.
Yeah.
And I'm not able to sustain that life when something
Wow.
happens.
That's really important.
Very
oh
profound.
my goodness. Because sometimes that can be the very thing that even throws people into depression when you lose a job, because sometimes you're just laid off.
Even a month, you cannot
Out of nowhere.
be able to sustain
Yeah.
your lifestyle for a month.
A month.
Imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Imagine.
Most of the time we live
Hand to mouth. Yeah.
We, especially for salaried people, we know the income that is coming.
Yes.
And now we plan for it in Aisha. We need to take care of the emergency, because even if we want to close our eyes, those things will happen.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. I just mentioned COVID. COVID taught everyone that even what we call secure jobs are not as secure.
True.
Because
Yeah.
something can hit an industry and the ship is wrecked. So
Yeah.
what is your plan?
Yeah.
Emergency.
Wow.
John Kamau, we can continue with this because it is something eye-opener, encouraging, rebuking us as well, because the point you said, some of the decisions we are making,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
not because we want to make them.
True.
It's because we want to impress our friends.
Want to feel like you belong.
I belong,
Yes.
the boys club, the girls as
Yes.
well. So you want to flow with the waves, which is quite unfortunate because it wrecks our families financially speaking.
That's true.
So thank you so very much. And I know this is just but a beginning of many other conversations that we will have when it comes to money matters, financial matters, investments and all. So thank you so very much. Before we allow you leave, if you would give us a parting shot that you feel as we enter into the festive season, as we enter the new year, the one thing that you would want us to also think about.
My parting shot is what I had said earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at what am I going to buy, what am I going to do next year, do a diagnosis of your relationship with money.
Okay.
Figure out, ni nini hii huwa inanipiga chenga. Every time I set a goal,
Yeah.
2 months down the line, I started very well. I get so mixed up, I lose the staying power. By the time March is getting, I have lost completely that urgency, that thrill of getting to pursue my goal. Is it that, is it my money personality? Is it my expenses? What is it?
Yeah.
What is my relationship with money? That would be number one. And number two, how are my finances looking like? Am I doing planning? Am I doing retirement planning? What are my debt to income ratios? What are my savings ratio?
Yeah.
Once you analyze the behavior, you have treated 80% of the problem. And now when you talk about buying or investing or saving or whatever outcome for the money, you have already diagnosed where the challenge would be, and now you are good to go. The second thing, start right where you are. There is no perfect time.
Yes.
The perfect time is now.
Awesome. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank
And
you.
actually, even before we conclude, I see Sam from Kilifi who is following every bit of the conversation and asking also, how often should I review my savings and investment plans, and what indicators should prompt me to adjust them?
So the first thing is you review your goals quarterly. Every 3 months, what has changed? You know, it's not a whole day's event.
True.
You just look at how are my expenses, what am I doing, how am I performing with this goal that I started. So review them as often, especially if you are starting. Because some people who have done that, I mean, you can do annual review. You can just say, this is what I'm going to do this year, and that's it. For someone who is starting, make sure you review them as often. Every quarter you look back and say, what have I been able to do? And now be able to revise them. The second question was on...
what are the indicators, you know, to kind of, actually, let me just go to it once again, but it's something to do with what indicators should prompt me to adjust them.
The first thing is, what is your savings ratio?
Okay.
If your savings ratio is less than 20%, you need to look at it. The second thing, what is my debt to income? How much of my income is going to debt? From professional perspective, we normally say, if your debt to income ratio is beyond 35%, please, you need to look at what is happening. Amen. So those are some of the simple things. Are you able to save consistently? Because if you're not, then definitely maybe there are things you are compromising.
Beautiful. And I hope that Sam from Kilifi has gotten the answer. And I believe this is not just representing Sam Kilifi alone, but even more people who probably had questions on the same. This has been quite insightful. I mean, 9 a.m. has gotten here very quickly because of how interesting the conversation has been. And thank you so much for coming through. Maybe you can let the people know how they can keep in touch with you.
Thank you. So my phone number is 0713 307 294. Let me say it one more time. 0713 307 294. Avocap Asset Managers, where we are located in Westlands. There is a road called Mogotio Road. We are at a building called Reliable Towers, 8th floor wing B. If you come there, we are going to sit down, look at your finances, and be able to do financial planning together.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you so very much, John. We really appreciate for your sacrifice, for your time this morning, and even for the wisdom that you have granted us this morning in terms of savings, understanding savings and investment. And as we have said, this is just but the beginning, especially even as we start the new year with the new year resolutions. How do we go about it? How do we stick to the plan? And how do we remain disciplined all through to the end of the journey? So thank you so very much. And regards to your family, regards to your team back at the office as well. Thank you so very much. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us this morning. And you can keep those questions coming, any queries, any clarification, and we will definitely be picking it up with John in our next episode of the program. So thank you so very much from us. May you continue to be disciplined. Start now, you know, start where you are. And of course, looking back, you will be amazed at what you have been able to achieve. So thank you so very much. Have a blessed and a fruitful day ahead. My name is George Kishoro.
And my name is Beatrice Nudi. It is important for us to end the year well. Even before we cross over to the new year, I think the best time to make those changes is now. Ukiingia new year, si ati ndo unasema wacha January ifike. No, you start now in December. In January, you just pick up the momentum. So I believe this conversation was important and pivotal even for you as you begin your savings and investment journey. May God be with you even as you purpose to be disciplined. And we'll see you guys tomorrow on One Day at a Time. Do have yourselves a lovely day.